Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the second season of the MSME Leadership Series presented by the Union Bank of India and CNBC TV18. Now, we can't really talk about entrepreneurs without referring to Silicon Valley. Hence, it gives me immense pleasure to be hosting this show from the Silicon Valley of India. Yes, Bengaluru. As Bengaluru became a hub for IT companies, it put India on the global map as far as IT services were concerned. After all, besides IT, Bengaluru is famous for its aerospace and aviation industries and is rightly known as the aviation capital of India. Bengaluru is also emerging as a startup capital besides being the e-commerce capital and of course home to major auto ancillaries and FMCG companies here. Now, since there's such a diverse range of industries and entrepreneurs spread across fields, we thought it apt to host a series here to salute this very entrepreneurial streak. This series was started with a view to encourage and espouse the cause of this MSME sector. So this afternoon, we have on board a lot of prominent stakeholders who will celebrate achievements, talk about their hardships, and look at what further can be done to augment the micro, small, and medium enterprises sector. So to kickstart the event and put in context the MSME Leadership Series, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. A.B. Ravi, Editor Special Projects, CNBC TV18.
Welcome to the MSME Leadership Series Season 2. Okay, we all know that the MSME sector consisting of 36 million units provides employment to over 80 million people in our country. This sector, which produces over 6,000 products, contributes about 8% to our GDP. It constitutes 45% of the total manufacturing output and 40% of the country's total exports. Abroad, the contribution of the MSME sector to the country's GDP is phenomenal. In Taiwan, it contributes 85% to its GDP, while in the UK, USA, Germany, and France, it contributes over 50%. In India, it is just 8%. Today, we are seeing more and more people becoming entrepreneurs. There are any number of success stories, and the origin for all these success stories is the MSME sector. We at CNBC TV18, our partner Union Bank of India, felt very strong about creating a forum that will bring MSME players together on a single platform. A platform that makes it possible to discuss and deliberate on the needs of this growing tribe of MSME players. Thus was born the MSME Leadership Series in 2016. For Season 2, we have identified manufacturing hubs like Bengaluru, Visakhapatnam, Indore, Raipur, and Ludhiana. By doing this event in different parts of the country, we hope to highlight the issues plaguing the MSME sector and ensure that the government of the day takes concrete action, thereby ensuring that the MSME players in the country become as competitive as the counterpart in the West. That's our endeavor and that's our hope.
I'd like to introduce Mr. Arun Tiwari, Chairman and Managing Director of Union Bank of India.
A place like Bangalore, it's absolute pleasure. This place is also mother of MSME, and not from yesterday or day for many, many years in the past. When we talk about Make in India, I think MSME sector is the one sector which would make the greatest sense in the if that dream is to be realized. But whether it's employment generation or contribution to the GDP, we have a lot to cover the ground in. I think these kind of occasions are an exercise of awareness. What all is available, or what else can be made available to both of us together, so that the objectivity with which this kind of series is set up, it's met largely. So my firm belief is we should have the challenges and we should be given, or that kind of ecology should be created by all stakeholders, whereby each of us can overcome those challenges and reach that goalpost. If we look for MSME sector, the kind of initiatives government has taken, tax rate in the last budget has been reduced to 25%. If you are on e-platform, working capital requirement have been increased from 20 to 25% of your turnover. If we are on the e-platform, that is up to 30% of your turnover. A. B. CGT MSE. The coverage has been increased to 2 crores. Udyog Aadhar. I mean, if something has been made available, it's for us to make best use out of that. What was started as Make in India, it cannot become a ground reality till such time MSME sector is supported to the extent it deserves, and quite rightly so. MSME sector challenges One, if I say, adequate and timely assistance, financial assistance. There cannot be sustainable, good, long-time result unless otherwise we walk that arduous path ourselves. In as much as Union Bank is concerned, let me tell you one thing quickly. Our incremental lending in terms of percentage, last 3 years in reverse order, if I take 21%, 31%, and 46%. These numbers you may not know, but these are the numbers which we have submitted to Reserve Bank of India and Ministry of Finance. Our balance sheet has been growing on account of MSME. And if I add, because when I talk about MSME as a lender, I must also be talking about retail, agri, and MSME. That is the product sector. That is where real India is, or rural India is, or the bottom of the pyramid is. If I just compare 2 years numbers, March 15 and March 17, my numbers would have gone up for these 3 segments from 44% of my domestic loan book to 56%. 11% growth in the balance sheet number is too large a number in absolute terms. We are doing it and we shall continue to do it in as much as the MSME sector is concerned. Thank you so much.
Let me steer the course of the evening to the panel discussion, reimagining the MSME economy, ideas, incentives, and investments.
Good evening, everybody. As my colleague said, reimagining the MSME economy, ideas, incentives, and investments. So what kind of ideas are required? What kind of incentives are required? What kind of investments are required to transform the MSME sector? And that has been our journey so far. Before we get into the talking about budget, GST, and all those things, I want Sushil to talk about how did he make it big? He had no money, he had no godfather, and how did he decide that he wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Hi. Initially, I didn't have any money to start my business. In fact, in 2005, I started as a one-man show with investing just 500 rupees petrol for my bike. And then immediately I grown into different level. And today we have more than 150 employees. And this was possible only because the person who has hard work, willpower, and knowledge. If you have a knowledge, you invest. Since you have a money, because of that you don't invest. And everybody cannot get into business without the knowledge.
I also want to spend a little time with Ramakrishna Nishtala. What made you bet big on these micro enterprises? I believe you're giving loans without collaterals. So could you briefly tell us?
I was working in a financial services company. This was in 2009. And I was traveling to a small place called Annur. Annur is a place which I guess many people may not recognize on the Indian map. And I met this person who was one of those persons, a micro enterprise, a classic micro enterprise customer who had grown his business from 2 power looms to 30 power looms over a 15-year period. And he said, now I want to take this 30 up to 45 power looms because there's a lot of demand. And so I thought, let me go and apply for a loan from a bank. It wasn't the Union Bank of India. And over a 5-month period and 23 visits later, the bank said no to him. And this for me was a moment of epiphany that if you have an entrepreneur who has actually grown like this, from being a power loom laborer to 2 power looms to 30 power looms, and he wants to now expand his business, and there is no space for him to get a loan. That's when I said, let me actually look at starting a company which is not focused on the SME part of the MSME, which I think comes in for a lot of focus anyway,
True.
But for the M part, the micro enterprises. So that was the starting point.
I think you're playing a catalyst role. I must commend you there because you only are playing a catalyst role. And the bank is also playing a catalyst role, but you're playing equally good. Okay, let me get Vipul, again very unusual. He's a social entrepreneur. How do you help the MSME with your sustainability report?
So I actually started this business along with my wife. It was not a one-man kind of effort. Both of us, we graduated out of college and we were doing jobs. And we realized that a lot of growth was focused on the traditional metrics. And we saw that people were not paying attention to long-term growth of a business. So we said sustainability in terms of long-term growth of businesses needs to be looked at. So we started a rating company, so we do sustainability ratings of companies. And we started it as a social enterprise because this was not being done. We started from India in 2007 and now we are in at least 30 countries. The idea is to identify some metrics, try to identify businesses that will that will be successful in the long run. So there are a lot of aspects we look at. Okay. It's very different from a rating agency like an S&P or CRISIL would give, but it's a rating still. And this is bought by institutional investors globally. So we have about 5 trillion worth of assets, pension funds, asset managers, banks in US and Europe who buy this research from us and buy these ratings, and then they take investment decisions whether these companies are worth investing or not.
This budget has been more tilted toward the MSME sector. Would you call it a game changer for the MSME sector?
Truly a game changer, because I think most of us know what exactly is the expectations the MSMEs have and the limitations in what they grow. Banks are now flushed with funds, and I'm sure there is a clear perspective from the government, BJP government, very clear that they want to fund the MSMEs.
A roadmap has been
absolutely in place.
Laid out for. Sudhakar Pai, what is your take on the budget where MSME sector is concerned?
I personally feel the government is trying to take the right steps, and if there are any issues, the government is very, very willing to hear us every time.
I think it's a very good beginning, but I would say it's a very small beginning. Compared to what needs to be done. Okay. There is a whole lot of steps. For example, imagination has been applied on the Jan Dhan scheme. For example, giving credits right to the grassroots people. Why can't we have a similar scheme for MSMEs?
The reality is that everything that's been talked in the budget does nothing for the micro enterprise unregistered 99% segment. And I think unless we were to look at dramatically addressing this segment, we will always be concentrating on the balance 5%, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, sure.
But if you are wanting to move the balance 95% up, then I think we clearly need to have a big drive on getting the unorganized sector into the organized sector.
Okay, let me get the banker.
Mr. Ramakrishna, who asked this unorganized, unregistered unit to remain unorganized and unregistered? Serial entrepreneur is one of those uneducated people here. Your Mudra bank will come, every bank will come, but will the money reach the grassroots level is a challenge. So you need to understand, to find somebody like them who will take, see, he says a Scottish bank or a Urban bank.
Now I just want to stop here. As Mr. Tiwari earlier said, Mudra Bank has funded 1,20,000 crore, and I think of which 86% are women, I was told. And the numbers are going up. So somewhere the fund is it a self-help group or it is, I don't know where, but it's going, the fund is going.
No, let me react to that, sir. On the flip side of it, Jan Dhan accounts happened. I mean, we as a banker, we were not sure about our ability that in such a short span or span of time, we shall be able to open those many number of accounts. And it was the former Prime Minister who said that to make that 1 rupee reach that person who deserves it or to whom it belongs, the government has to spend 3 rupees. So at least by doing this exercise, that leakage is blocked, money is coming into productive sector. So education, that school or college education or MBA degrees have got nothing to do with the business acumen.
Sushil, I want to come to you. Sorry, you're running a printing press. How easy or tough is to do business when you started 15 years back and today? Because I'm coming back to the doing business because every time I go, people say it is tough and we get claps and everywhere, but somebody is easy.
It was tough in the initially, but once we started growing in a different level.
Do you get inspectors visiting your premises asking?
Definitely, every month, every 2 months, once some other people comes, definitely.
So how do you tackle that?
See, we have 100% billing, 100% accounts, everything is perfect. So do not to worry about them. One question to Tiwari, Mr. Tiwari, that why there is a difference between India and abroad. German, they charge 4.5% interest. And in Japan and Taiwan, they are charging only 3% interest. And in India, it's a 14% interest. Why is it there is a difference?
The difference is not, but that is not Tiwari is doing, that is the RBI is doing, actually.
No, because it's little too early claps. Let me reply. When people ask me about the reducing the rate of interest, first question I shoot back is on deposits or on loans. If inflation, just take for example, is at 5%. What return you would like to have? At least 1% positive return. 6% is my cost of raw material, right? Every 100 rupees I get, 21 plus 4, 25 rupees or 28, 4 rupees 50 paisa goes to Reserve Bank of India. So on balance, 75 rupees or 75 rupees 50 paisa I have to earn to cover that cost of 6%. A. B. Cost of operations. C. Stakeholders need or expect dividend at the end of the year. I have to make provisions for the bad loans because I'm a commercial bank. Believe me, bank finance is sugar level in your body. If it's more, it's injurious. If it's less, it's injurious. Take your call. Take your call.
Very well put. Okay, let me shift the gear actually. Now GST is a reality now. It's going to happen in July. Will it benefit the MSME sector?
Straight away it will benefit because we don't have boundaries. I don't have to sell only in the state of Karnataka because my neighbor tax is less or more. So I think we have a big boundary. Now the country is big.
I had an appointment with the finance minister around 6:30 in the evening, but unfortunately he was in the GST meeting. So he landed up at 7 o'clock. Okay. So he gave me 3.5 minutes from the place where I was sitting. Then he was going to the car. So I told him, sir, the coir industry, which is going to die if we don't take care of it, and we understand this GST is likely to be 28%. Definitely it will die. So we want to know what I'm going to do. He said on the way, he said, Mr. Pai, remember one thing. Government want to be friendly with you. At the same time, government has to run. Tell us what sales tax you are paying today, what excise duty you are paying today. I will make sure that it will be 1% less than that.
What is the advice, or what are 2 or 3 things you would like the MSME ministry to do on a war footing for you all?
Create a framework for MSMEs so that we can expand the sector, we can bring the informal economy into the MSME. We need to have a package, we need to have a framework so that all these MSMEs have a different set of, facilities available to them, different terms, the NPA terms, different policy permissions from the government, different type of compliances, different ease of doing business. If we can put that package together, then we can unlock the potential and they can grow.
I personally feel between the bankers, the associations and the government together, a body should come together and say, every month at least we'll meet once for 1 day, write down the problems and come to a solution within the next 90 days time.
Okay, let me get Dinesh.
One priority is make sure the payments to the MSMEs come on time.
Okay, one.
Secondly, please make sure the infrastructure facilities to MSMEs are in place.
I think for starters, the MSME industry should open 2,000 MSME kendras across the country with an appropriate district distribution. And they must be tasked with only one thing, which is that they must get more and more of the micro enterprises to move from the unorganized to the organized and explain to them clearly about what the benefits are.
I would request ministry to provide a loan and support MSME that in such a way by providing a loan based on their capability, based on their goodwill, and based on their the rapport they build in the past so many years, and based on their backups, whatever the sales they are done, not on the collateral basis.
Final word to the banker now. I'm going to ask you a different kind of question. You can't advise the MSME ministry, but what is the advice you will give the MSME, people from the MSME sector?
Expectations from the ministry, from the government, from the bankers, from your creditors, from your debtors, from your associations. It's an ecosystem. Everybody has to play his or her part. Just one thing, that you are given the money, and I said, money is sugar level in the body. So, like lender or a banker, we are one of the agents in that ecosystem. Don't try to find answer with one entity. It's an ecosystem. Unless otherwise all the parts of it are in sync, we will continue to have these kind of conferences every time.
Thanks a lot, gentlemen.
Now we come to the integral part, which is the citations. Hearty congratulations to all the citation winners, and I once again request all the citation winners to please come up on stage for a photo op. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. that brings us to the end of this very stimulating evening.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.